Hey, I'm here with a guy who I think needs no introduction, Peter Molyneux, the big cheese of Lionhead Studios. We're here with Fable 2 today. So we're looking at the finished version of Fable 2. This thing's done now.
Yep, just about. I mean, the build you're playing it's got we number our builds as 290, and we're on build 305. But every day we do new build. The build you're playing's got a few very, very minor bugs.
Okay.
But,
So
yeah, essentially it's
done.
finished.
Almost
yeah,
done.
Yeah.
So you made headlines recently by rating your own game.
Do you know that I don't know either I've got early outset on Alzheimer's or someone's making it up, because I don't remember ever doing that. And what the camera doesn't see is we've got 2 PR policemen in all of my interviews, and so they don't remember me saying that. And to be honest, I'm not the sort of personality that would say 9. I'm more likely to say 11. So, but it's out there now, and it's amazing how many people have noticed that.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Well, maybe it was apocryphal information, but so you said 9 of 10, and I took that to mean that you had hit 90% of your goal for the game, not necessarily the quality was 9 of 10, but so I'm curious what is in the 10% that didn't make it into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more happy with Fable 2 as a game than almost any game I've ever worked on. But there are some things that we cut out. I mean, a lot of things we cut out were some of the frills. There was some more gameplay to do with crime systems. There was some more gameplay to do with the sort of ownership. There was a little gameplay thing to do with gardening. I mean, those are little things which you don't mind just cutting off. It's like pruning a beautiful tree. To get the right form, you have to snip a few things off like that. I suppose if I wanted 10% more time or 10% more, then I would spend a little bit more time on the GUI. I think the GUI is a little bit, I'm being absolutely honest with you, can be a little bit old school in places. And the guys at Lionhead have done a fantastic job with it, but it's still, I think there's room for some innovation there. And then there is there's just a few sunsets that aren't right, and a few trees that I look at and I'd say in the distance, maybe not in a few long shots, but God, it's an amazing, incredible game, and the team back at Lionhead have done an incredible job. Everybody said outside of Lionhead that this game was impossible to do.
You proved them wrong.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope. I mean, so I think when you sit down and you start explaining, okay, we're going to make a game with this in, and this isn't 10 features or 15 features or 20 features, it's, tens and tens and almost hundreds of different features, then you're much more likely to get, people who decide your fate to turn around and say, what the hell are you doing? Just make it with 2 features. So I'm very proud that we've been able to do it.
Very good. Well, so what's the one feature that you've added since the design of the first Fable that you're most happy with or proud of?
Well, I look back at the first Fable, and it kind of looks fractured and slightly messy, and it's a lot of mechanics, but not a lot of drama. And I think the thing I'm most proud about in Fable 2 is that the whole of all these interesting mechanics sort of fit really, really snugly together, and they work really well, and they all work in all parts of the game. But I think it's the drama, it's the story, and how involved you get, and how impactful little things like the dog are to you. And I think actually when you sit back and you've played half the game, you've only played a little fraction of what the game is. When you actually end up playing a considerable amount, you sit back, and I just really want people to go, wow, that's incredible. And they're not talking about a single game feature, they're talking about the whole of the world, whole of Albion and Fable 2.
So you've had a pretty storied career, obviously. You've made some games.
So
just in the context of this 10-point Peter Molyneux happiness scale, I'm curious, how would you rate games like, say, Populous or Magic Carpet? Black and White, like where, just to get a frame of reference for how happy you are with this game. Where do those fall?
Yeah, I mean, I look back at every game I've done, and I always cringe a little bit, because you know, some games I've done, even going back as far as Popular, so, you know, I've made schoolboy design errors on. And, you know, the fact that Popular's, okay, it was an interesting mechanic, but it was 500 levels, all of which were exactly the same. They didn't change one iota. And Magic Carpet, it was the most stupid thing in the world to set you on a magic carpet. No one wants to play on a magic carpet. They want to run around corridors shooting things. If we just used that tech to do that back in those days, gosh knows where we'd be. You know, and I look at every single game, and I can point to the flaws and the fractures in those games, and I think it's just what it's like. You know, you end up sort of biting your nails at the things that you should have done. And a lot of that is from listening to what people say about a game, and an awful lot of that is when I go back and, which I try and do, I go back and try and play the game that I've been working on, you know, a couple of months after, I would say, because then you get a real objective, and that's when at that point when I play it, when it's all finished, that's when I sort of, it's like a white knuckle ride. It never quite works.
So. Since the game's almost done, are you going to take these lessons that you've learned on Fable and go straight into the elusive, mysterious Dimitri project, or?
Well, you know, the other game, of course, Lionhead is always working on more than one game, right. And the other title, another big title we're working on is this mysterious project, which is why we've got these PR police people in this room to make sure I don't talk about it. You know, and I think, what can you expect from us? I mean, hopefully you can expect the unexpected. It's not going to be like anything that we've done before. It's also going to be something which, it's going to stretch, I think it's going to stretch what you think of as a game.
Well, you've made the comments before that it's going to have some kind of like a scientific impact, or like.
Yeah,
I guess you could say that maybe Will Wright has gone and done that with Spore now.
Yeah,
so do you feel any kind of like sense of one-upsmanship? Like now you need to surpass
Will
achieved?
Will and I have ever seen, you know, he released SimCity at the same time as I released Populous, and you know, he released The Sims at the same time as I released Black and White, and we've always, well, when we meet, we're not in any way competitive. But, you know, I have a sneaking suspicion that behind him there's a competitive edge to Will. And
keeps you sharp.
It does keep you sharp. I've been playing Spore, I think it's really great. And the only reason I say the scientific thing, because it is an experiment that we have been experimenting with. At Lionhead, we've got these experimental teams that just experiment with different stuff. And actually in Fable 2, the one-button combat was an experiment that really worked well. And there's quite a few other experiments, and one of those experiments that we've been kind of working on pretty much well since Black and White, and had this amazing breakthrough, and you know, this sort of inspirational moment, and that I think is in itself, forget about the game, is newsworthy.
Cool. So I've been a little disturbed by some comments and some rumors recently that yes, there is another generation of consoles, and it might be coming sooner than we think. I mean, there's rumors of Gearbox doing Halo 4 for the next Xbox or whatever. So, since we are pretty deep into this generation, do you guys feel like, do you have another 360 game in you, or do you move on in your thinking in what you think is possible?
Yeah.
In your design, are you already thinking about the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, I've learnt that if you start worrying about next generation before there is a real official announcement, you drive yourself insane. I mean, the first time I heard the rumours of the next generation, I think it was before this generation was out. So, you know, I've kind of learned to block my ears a little bit. But I would say that, you know, because we've been working on other stuff, Lionhead's been working on other stuff, I think I'd be surprised if we didn't get another 360 title out there.
Okay, cool. And then just to bring it all back around, when is Fable 2 going to be out?
Fable 2 is going to be out on the 21st of October. It's I will carry on compulsively eating till then, so I'm looking to double my weight and nervous eating, but yeah, it's a very nerve-wracking time. I can't, you know, if you're not in the industry, you've never finished a game before, you've no idea what this is like. You know, is very nerve-wracking.
Very good. Well, I'm going to go play more Fable 2, and you guys are going to wait until next month.